Hi, my name is Verstine Henry. I am co-host of Truth or Talk, which I am co-host with my awesome co-host, April Bowden. Please come by our website and visit us at truthertalk.com. Please come by our Facebook, like us, um, and also you can follow us on Twitter. Anyway, I'm coming to you today with the Truther rant, and it's very disturbing because there are these series of videos that or a commercial that I've seen on YouTube called Iran Facts. And Iran Facts basically is a war propaganda video that's being used to instigate war with Iran. Ar- and it's very, very disturbing that um, this is happening. And thank God, I'm really, really grateful that there was a guy that actually made a video breaking it down, and he did a way better job than I could have done. So I'm gonna put his video link below this if you want to see, and I'll also put the original Iran Facts video down for you to see too, so you don't if you want to just make up your mind for yourself, right? So anyway, so the prospect of war has been on my mind, and the other day I went to a party and I was talking to a guy, and he was really cool. He was this dude, really smart, and we had some common interests and stuff, and he was talking about being in the military, and I was like, well, what was it like, and it was really hard because I was trying to get into his head with that, and when you try and get into somebody's head, you really can't judge them for what you say, so it's really hard sometimes, because you have this bias, you have your biases. So I'm asking him, what attracted you to the military? And he was talking about how he was like, it's addictive. It's addictive. And I was like, well, what do you mean it's addictive? He's like, well, it's this adrenaline rush, and you get to play with all these toys, and you get to travel, and you have a sense of adventure, and you have this sense of camaraderie, you know. And when he was talking about these things, I kind of had a flashback because I was thinking that I was remembering when I was in junior high. I was in the California Cadet Corps, which is a military program for children. In junior high, it's called the Cadet Corps, and when you go to high school, it's like the same program, but they call it ROTC, which I don't know what it stands for, but it's ROTC. And basically, when you leave ROTC, you can actually get a good job. In the military, if you do really good in ROTC and you can take certain tests and stuff, and you can get a good paying job in the military if you're very successful in ROTC. So anyway, so I remember being in the Cadet Corps, and um, it was a safe place for me because I went to school that just it was kind of crazy, and I didn't have to be on the P yard with the gangbangers, so it was, because we were in the built secured building, and we did our drills and marching and all that stuff, and nobody messed with us. So and I remember I was saying, oh yeah, I remember we used to like march, and we would sing the songs, and I really liked that part, and he was like, yeah, when we're marching and we're running and we're in sync, and it it was like I could understand to a certain degree how people would think the military would be fun, because I considered it for a while, especially when I was in the Cadet Corps. It looked like it was fun. I never thought about going to war and having to kill people or blow up things. That was the furthest thing from my mind. And then I went on like a field trip with one year where we went to, I think it was one of the Air Force bases, and basically we were there for like a week, and we got off the bus and they left us there. I was about maybe 12 or 13, and they left these 16, 17-year-old kids in charge of us. And at the time, I really didn't think that was weird, because I think when you're like 13, you think somebody 16 or 17 is like an adult. They're just kind of, they're taller than you, they're big, you just whatever. But now that was just kind of weird, and I really hated the fact that I felt like I didn't have the vocabulary to articulate what was going on when I was a kid, but now that I'm away from that, I just didn't like the feeling of being brainwashed, or being like, I would say yeah, it's brainwashed, but I remember just had a bad feeling because they would get off and like torturing us and making us do, exercises, and waking us up at 4 in the morning, and like over stupid shit, because somebody sneezed, or something, you know, and they'd make us do like 100 push-ups and get us up. It was terrible. Or make us clean the bath, you know, it was just like, and we're kids. It was horrible. Anyway, I remember I was like, fuck this shit. I'm out. And then, I decided to get out. And so I'm talking to this guy. We're talking about the high that you can get off the military. And we started talking about video games, and do you think that that had an influence, or cartoons that we watched and stuff, right? Because I remember, or TV shows. I remember I watched like Private Benjamin and like GI Joe, and and now there were the cartoons, and now that kind of got kids, and now it's like the video games, right? And as a teacher, I see that in school. It's very, very disturbing. I see children that are talking about video games all the time. They're talking about weapons. They're going around pretending like they're killing people and hiding under desks and making, guns out of like paper and making it and it's fun. It's cool to like shoot people and hurt people, and it's terrible. And I had this kid that would write essays about like how he loved to like play video games on his days off because he loved killing people and it was fun. It's just like really horribly, terrifyingly disturbing stuff that I see as a teacher. So I'm asking the guy, I'm like, do you think that these video games and stuff have an effect on children, and do you think it's preparing them for war? And he was like, yeah. And he just kind of had this nonchalant attitude about it. And like I said, he's a nice guy, but he was going on to say, well, I know that there are people that, want us to go to war, and but they're just too powerful. There's really nothing we can do. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding? Like, we are way more powerful than they are. Where there are way more of us than there are of them. It's a small percentage of people that want us to go to war, that want us to fight for them and slaughter for them and conquer for them. It's a small percent compared to the entire people on the planet, than the entire people in the military. It's ridiculous. But I think that people just have this like nonchalant attitude. There's some people that are awake and that then they understand what's going on, but there's some people that don't. They have no clue. They don't ask themselves questions about why they go to war, why wars happen, who controls the war, what is their purpose for being, and they're not, I guess they're not taught to ask questions. Now they think about it, they're not, they're taught not to ask questions. But then there's some people that do have those questions, and or they come to this conclusion that there is something or someone that is responsible for them having to go to war, but they just kind of write it off, and then like, there's nothing we can do about it. And it's just so fucking frustrating, because I just think that people would people have so much power. They don't understand the power that they have. And it it just it's either that, or it's like people don't want to take responsibility. People don't want to make a decision. People don't want to stand up. But there's going to be a day probably soon where you're going to have to fucking use your brain, and you're going to have to look inside, and you're going to have to figure out what is worth standing up for. And there are people in the military that have done that, and kudos to them, because I know, not only the peer pressure of standing up, is hard, but it's also just the fact that, they can get dishonorable discharged, or they can get harassed, physically, and or families being harassed. They're risking a lot by like coming out and like speaking about the wrongs that are going on in the military. And it's I hope that there are more people that start to follow. I love you for doing that. Mwah. That's amazing. The whistleblowers that risk their lives on every level are just amazing. But I hope that there are more people that come out and do stuff like that, so we won't go to war. And I hope that there are more people that believe that this propaganda that's going on is bullshit. And I hope that they think about, what if it were them? What if it were their race or their culture that was being targeted? Because nobody really, it's all people want to point their finger at one group, but then when the finger's pointed back at them, it's like they can't take it. They have to realize that it can happen, this hate that's being perpetrated and the people that are buying into it, you have to understand that there might be a day when that could be you. So, and we have to get to a point too where things are getting crazy. I wouldn't say bad, but crazy. There's a lot of really turbulent, fast change that's going on in the world, and it could be good, it could be bad, but or it could I'm sorry, it could end good or it could end bad, but that's all left up to us and how we're going to become aware of what's going on around us, and become um responsible, like take responsibility, understand that you're gonna have to stand up, you're gonna have to look inside, you're gonna have to stand up for what is right. Because if you really think that it's cool to go bomb people's countries and shoot them up, or is exciting, to kill babies and leave depleted uranium all over the place, and I don't know, Lord knows what else, that, if that's really cool, then you've lost your humanity. But maybe there's a way you can get it back. Maybe not all is lost. So I wear this shirt every time I wear the shirt. The camera's really weird. I'm like, I don't know where it is. Every time I wear the shirt, everybody stops me. Well, not everybody, I'm sorry, but people of different races and cultures and ages, they always like this shirt because it resonates with them. And nobody wants war. I don't think we can live in a completely utopian society where we all like get along and hold hands and sing kumbaya. I don't, and that's fine because I don't like everybody. And I know everybody, I don't think people always have to like me. So I don't think we're always gonna, get along, but I think we can come to a place on this planet where we don't have war, because most people most people that's something that most people can agree on, that they don't want war, they don't want to go to war. Not only are people getting blown up and murdered in other countries, but our soldiers are coming back and killing themselves. There are more soldiers now that are dying of suicide because of all of the horrible atrocities that they've seen or they've committed, while in combat or while occupying a country, and they can't get the stuff up their fucking head and they go crazy. It's the effect that it takes on your soul. People don't take account the effects that war has on people's souls. So anyway, I hope that people don't buy into this crap. I hope that I hope that that people really stop to think about what, if they buy into this, what the outcome of it could be. So anyway, peace, truth, and love. I will hopefully, we're on hiatus right now, so we should be back sometime in January, but hopefully you will come by, you will like us on Facebook, you will follow us on Twitter, send us some private suggestions that you have about the show. Yeah, and until next time, peace, truth, and love, guys. Bye.